Hi everyone, this is Phil Travis. This is week 2 here at EOU, History 360, Military History. Just had a couple of brief announcements this week, and also I'm announcing a kind of fun extra credit activity that we're doing in the class. But first, let's get down to the business of the week. We're reading Chapter 3 from your book, Ways of War, and this is on the American Revolution. We have a great discussion this week, of course, as usual. Make your first post by Thursday, please. And we also have a quiz this week, and the quiz is it's a 5-question multiple-choice quiz. You have a 25-minute time limit, and it's on the reading from Ways of War, Chapter 3 on the American Revolution. So read Chapter 3, use a highlighter, and then when you take the quiz, use your book. And you should have plenty of time. This is designed for you to review the reading more than it is for you to, lose points or something necessarily. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to announce this week, we are now beginning. Anybody who's taken my classes before know about the fun extra credit activity that I do in all my classes. So we're going to start a new extra credit activity. It'll start this week, and the way it works is you watch my weekly announcement no later than Wednesday, and then in the content area for this week and the modules for week 2, you'll see something that says extra credit discussion board. Okay, and you will just go into there, and I'm going to state a factoid. I'm going to tell you a little interesting fact about history, about the time period we're discussing, and then all you have to do is go into the extra credit discussion board. It's clearly labeled, and just write out, this was the factoid from this week's announcement, and do that no later than Wednesday by midnight. And if you do that, if you do all of them from here on to week 10, you will get 10 points extra credit on one of your exams. If you miss one, then you get 1 point for each week, so you can still get upwards of 6-7 points even if you miss 1 or 2. So I recommend everybody do everyone in that way. Make sure it has to be done before Wednesday. And you can't view other people's posts on the extra credit discussion board until you post. So just watch the announcements. The reason I do this is because I want you to be thinking about the class and what you're doing for the week very early on in the week. So I want students to engage the class before Thursday, and so they can get active early. And I think that's a better way to learn. So just watch the announcement and then sit right in the extra credit factoid in the extra credit discussion board that you'll see in the modules area for this week, week 2. Okay, so the factoid then is, let's get right to it. During the American Revolution, one of the most important, so what you'll do is, I'm going to tell you this little factoid, and just go into the extra credit discussion board and just write it in there before Wednesday at midnight, and you get ticked for a point. So during the American Revolution, perhaps the most significant contributor in the early period of the war to the drilling and organization of the Continental Army of George Washington into a professional and disciplined force, a force capable of using bayonets, for example, a force capable of operating as a professional army of the 18th century was expected to operate. The person most responsible for that was Baron von Steuben. And Baron von Steuben is a really interesting character because Baron von Steuben was a Prussian who was basically run out of Europe because it was rumored that he was homosexual. It was rumored that he was homosexual, and he was run out of Prussia. And ultimately, he met with Benjamin Franklin in Paris, in France, and Benjamin Franklin said, you can come and help, but we can't guarantee any pay or anything for you or anything like that. And Baron von Steuben came anyway. He came to the colonies. He was almost arrested for being a British, for people thinking he was actually an agent of the British. He joins George Washington's army in Valley Forge and becomes like one of the most integral elements of the organization of a professional army during the American Revolution. He was remembered fondly by his soldiers because he used to cuss at them in French. He would cuss them out, and then an interpreter, I can't remember who the interpreter was, but the interpreter would explain the cussing out to the soldiers as they were drilled in, things like the practice of the bayonet and these types of things. But it's an interesting story, not only because of that, but because, it's kind of like America's always sort of had, in certain cases, it's always been a country where the sort of people that have, in a way, been cast out of other places have come and created something anew here. And so here you see Baron von Steuben. Basically, he was kicked out of his rank in the Prussian military, and it was done so because it was rumored that he was homosexual. And he ultimately comes to the Americas and plays an integral, role in the American Revolution. So it's a very interesting story. So just write that factoid in the extra credit discussion for this week, and you'll get 1 point towards one of your test grades at the end of the term. All right, guys.